Jerry Dulac of the Post-Gazette tweeting just about 2 minutes ago. Steelers expected to put JuJu Smith-Schuster on injured reserve and are fearful he will miss the rest of the season after injuring his shoulder against the Broncos, per sources. You could tell as soon as JuJu went down yesterday on that hit that it was bad.
Yeah, and then they went to kind of maneuver and manipulate his arm around, and he screamed, which was no good when John Norwig was moving his arm around. And here, you could love him, you could hate him. You could think that JuJu is great and fun and all of that. You could not stand him because he's on TikTok and whatever. What can't be argued, and I'm not here for, is to argue if JuJu's tough. JuJu is tough as can be. The guy knocks people down. He gets knocked down. He lowers his shoulder, and generally he gets back up, and he put on a bunch of good weight in the past year and a half or so, and he has become a wrecking ball. And you just – when he stays down and when he gets hurt like that, you know it's serious. And this is not good for the Steelers' pass game.
No, it's look, the reason he got hurt was because he was putting his shoulder down.
Right.
To try, and he just got he got busted up. The dude in Denver secondary got lower than him and just square on the shoulder. So at least 3 weeks. We know that because it's IR, and it sounds like a whole lot longer.
It looked to me like he got a big piece of his arm, too, the unpadded part of his arm. You know, I don't know what the injury is. It wasn't your run-of-the-mill shoulder separation that you just pop back in.
No.
Because he wasn't walking. The thing is, the pain radiated all the way through down to his legs where he was greatly affected. If you have a shoulder separation, you just kind of dangle it there, someone grabs it, throws it back in, and then it just kind of magically goes away. He was in really bad shape.
And the haste they showed in getting him off the field and into the locker room immediately and finding out that he was in the hospital at the end of the game that quickly. So JuJu, again, breaking news on injured reserve, expected to be put on injured reserve. Jerry Dulac of the Post-Gazette reporting they're fearful he could miss the rest of the season after that shoulder injury yesterday against Denver. What I did like from yesterday was that until maybe really fourth quarter, I did not see Ben Roethlisberger missing many throws. And everything seemed to be on target and on time. He was much more accurate yesterday than he has been to any point this year. And he didn't have to throw the ball 45 times. That was part of it, but they limited what they asked him to do. He took what was available. A lot of people use the term as a pejorative. Oh, he's a game manager. That's all he is. In this case, that was exactly what you want Ben to be. He managed the game. He knew when to check to a run play, and there was a lot of that. He knew to feed Najee when Najee got going. He knew when to check to something, when to target Claypool across the middle against the linebacker. Right. He knew exactly. This is what you want a 39-year-old quarterback who's lost most of his mobility to do.
Yeah, I thought, we'll get into this in just a little bit. Ben talking about first down and how they won first down so many times, and it made his life and his job a lot easier. But, yeah, we look at game manager as a bad term. Mm-hmm. But whenever you are – and it is such a passing league that you see that as a derogatory term where someone is a game manager. In this case, if you wrote out the rest of the season and Ben Roethlisberger was a game manager by design, and that was the definition of what he did, I think that'd be a glaring positive thing because he manages the game, which is the second shoe to drop. The first shoe is the running game gets going.
Right.
When Ben Roethlisberger is a volume thrower, and Ed just touched on it too, this team just is not functioning its best way whenever he's a volume thrower. Whenever he could just step in and make throws here and there. And look, the time where he got sacked or he was in trouble, it was of his own accord because he didn't get rid of the football quickly.
Right, he held on to it too long.
So I have no problems. And it's just a matter of him psychologically understanding, hey, it's like that guy that used to hit it 330 yards off the tee. Maybe I can only hit it 295 right now, and I need to become a better iron player, and I need to putt a little better, and need to be better and tidy up around the green. That's what Ben is. That part of his game in terms of throwing it 40 times is gone, and this team works much better.
Look,
much better if he has to make a throw here or there.
It's no coincidence that in the games where he has attempted 40 passes or more, they've lost. Now, understanding, in some of those instances, you're trying to come from behind, right? But look, in some of those games, there was no need to pass as much early on as they did. Now, some of it was they didn't believe they could get anything going with the ground game. They got that going early on yesterday, but that's exactly, 25 to 30 attempts, that's your sweet spot right there. I don't want to guarantee anything, but I will say they will win more games I mean, by a large margin, if they continue with 25 to 30 attempts per game, they'll win those games.
Because they only have to throw it that many times, too, because they're running the football effectively. Right. Enough can't be said about the offensive line, honestly. I mean, the way that those guys played, I go back and forth on Chooks. The easy take this morning is that Chooks is so much better because he stood up Von Miller, and that Von Miller didn't have a big impact on this game. And that should be part of the takeaway. And I want to go ahead and just celebrate Chooks this morning, but Von Miller isn't what he used to be, and I don't want to give Chooks a knock for that. The penalties that Chooks had were really backbreakers, though.
They were killer. I think we can acknowledge both. Like, we can acknowledge that Von Miller is still very good and that Chooks did a good job against him. We can also acknowledge that of the 8 penalties this team took, I think 5 of them came against the offensive line.
And pre-snap stuff.
And the only offensive lineman who didn't have a penalty was Trey Turner, the veteran.
Green took 2 bad ones.
Yeah, so all the young guys on the line took a penalty at some point. This is part of the growing pains that Roethlisberger referenced at the beginning of the year and that we've talked about. This offensive line is going to take time to gel and come together. That's going to take time, and it's also going to take time for young guys to stop doing stupid stuff. That's just, unfortunately, a part of the factor.
But the arrow is definitely pointing up with the offensive line. The last 8 quarters, they have performed so much better than they did the first 3 games. There's just no question about that.
It was an incremental steps in the right direction the first few weeks, and now it feels like it's more than the little baby steps. The baby is actually kind of letting go of the coffee table as it starts to wander around the living room, if that's any kind of analogy.